Well, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both huge epic fantasy novels published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Bat by Jo Nesbo. Norwegian writer Jo Nesbo. This is book number 1 in his Harry Hole mystery series set in Norway. Yes, Harry Hole. Not Harry Holy, not Harry Hooley, not Harry Hool. It's actually Harry, I don't know if you can see that, Harry Hole. I can't make this stuff up, folks. I didn't come up with the name. You cannot blame me. You can't blame me for this one. The Bat, book number 1. Harry Hole, as I said, Detective Hole, is a detective in Oslo, Norway. Let's talk about this series because I just bought book 1. There's 12, 13, maybe 11 other books in the series, and so we will be buying, because I liked it, we will be buying the rest of the series for my collection. And let's get into this. We talk about the covers first. Already we've got a mystery because this is Harry Hole is a Norwegian detective set out of Oslo, Norway, written by Jo Nesbo, who is a Norwegian, but yet the cover is a picture of Sydney, Australia, and the Opera House. You can see the Opera House looks sort of bat-like, and then there's bat wings, photoshopped in there too. So what the hell's going on? Why? Well, we'll get into that. It's a good cover. All the cover. One of the reasons I wanted to get this series is because all the covers actually are similar. And when I get when I do my August 2021 book haul, I'll have the entire series here with me, and we will go over how they all look so super cool on the shelf together because they all match. We all like to have matching book covers and spines for our beautiful book collections, don't we? So, this book came out in 1997. Harry Hole is sent, because he's a Norwegian Oslo detective. He's a drunkard. He's got a checkered past. Like most detectives, all the cliches are clicked off. Bad relationships, drunk, checkered past, never really follows the rules. But that's why we love detective fiction, and that's why we want to read about these guys, because they're interesting. And anyway, he gets sent from Oslo to Australia because a young woman, a young citizen of Oslo, was murdered in Australia, and the Australian authorities want to send Harry Hole over to Australia to help them with the murder investigation in Australia so they can solve the murder of this Norwegian living in Australia, if that makes sense. Now, this Norwegian girl that's living in Australia happens to be a small celebrity in Australia because once she got there, she started working at a TV station, and she was on Australian TV enough that she kind of became a minor celebrity. And she's also super hot. She's dead, though. What does the bat have to do with that? Well, the bat, translated in Aboriginal, is the symbol for death. The bat is the symbol for death. So let's get the allegory and symbolism out of the way right at the beginning. This is a very, very gritty detective novel. I mean, Harry Hole he's a nice guy, but not a nice guy. I don't know who to compare him to most. Maybe Kenzie and Gennaro from Dennis Lehane. Maybe even Matthew Scudder from the Lawrence Block books. Not really, he's not Elvis Cole or Joe Pike from the Robert Krayas, or he's not Spencer from Robert B. Parker, because he's just not as funny as those, although there is a lot of humor in it. He's got more of a dark sense of humor. A lot of the detectives have more of a wry, fly sense of humor. This guy's sense of humor is dark. I would consider this pretty dark. This is like Sopranos, The Wire type HBO, dark and grim and gritty. So, set in 1997, I realized from the get-go that things were different because he's wearing a Walkman. I was like, why? What is a hello? I haven't heard the term a Walkman since the 80s. But I guess in 1997, maybe there were still a few Walkmans floating about before iPods. But anyway, he goes to Australia. He finds out that the Australian police really don't want his help. They're just kind of like, why don't you follow us around? And if you have any questions, we may or may not answer them. Just stay the hell out of our way, and we will take care of things. We just decided to let you come over here to appease your government. Our embassy and your embassy, we've got good relations between the two countries. We don't want you to just stay out of the way, Harry Hole. Well, anyway, do you think he stays out of the way? No, he puts himself right in the middle of the investigation. And what happens is he goes and investigates at this bar, because even though this Norwegian girl, was sort of a minor celebrity in Australia, she still wasn't making the kind of dough that she had to work a side gig at a bar. So that's one of the first places Harry Hole goes, is this bar that she used to work at. And he immediately runs into this smoke show of a redhead named Birgitte, who's also a Norwegian woman. And they strike it up, and they're like, she might be Swedish. She's from, she's just not from Australia. She might even be from Australia. I think she is. I can't remember. She's from not America. If it's not America, I don't know. I can't tell any of them apart, whether it's England, Australia, Norway. Anyway, the important thing, folks, the important thing is that she's a smoking hot redhead. And Harry Hole, of course, as in all detective fiction, has a little fling with this girl, and he's only going to be there for like 2 or 3 weeks investigating. But of course he has to get involved with Birgitte. She must be Swedish with that name. Birgitte. That is like a Norwegian name. So we'll go with that. Anyway, Birgitte, as you're reading along, you're like, as a reader, you're like, I don't really trust Birgitte. But Harry Hole, of course, she's hot. Harry Hole, like every guy on the planet, if the woman's hot enough, will overlook a gazillion fucking red flags and still be like, yeah, I'm going to smash that. But anyway, that's the nature of detective fiction, folks. It's the nature of detective fiction. Like I said, I didn't make any of this up. This is Harry Hole and Jo Nesbo. This is not me. I'm not the one. I'm just the messenger. I'm just the messenger. Anyway, the girl, so they investigate the girl. They find out that she was thrown off a cliff. I think, she was thrown off a cliff. It's gruesome. And like I say, when I say this is gritty, this is kind of like just, it's just got this grit to it. I think that sort of a Norwegian / Australian grit to it, where they're out in the outback a lot of the time. They're investigating things way out in the middle of nowhere, Australia, and they're running into crazy characters that are just dark. And we get to learn a lot. One of the things I like about this mystery novel is we get to learn a lot about the history of the Aboriginal people, the history of Australia, the ties between Australia and Norway, and a lot of the history of Norway, and we get a lot of the history of Harry Hole in book 1. I'm sure more parts of his history will come out in subsequent books. But one of the things we learn about Harry Hole in this first book is that he was the cause of an accidental death of one of his friends and police officers back in Oslo, and this is really tormenting him. So he's the cause of the death, and that is why he's sort of this dark guy. And anyway, mystery goes along. We won't get into any more spoilers than I've already said, but I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. We do always, when this is translated. Last bit of thing I'm going to talk about here is the book is translated from the original Norwegian. I often don't read books that were written in one language translated into the other, unless they're like War and Peace, or there's just like maybe the dragon girl with the dragon tattoo. I enjoyed that one. But a lot of times I don't really get into them because I don't know it depends on if the translator is competent and also good at storytelling themselves, because how they construct the sentences from the Norwegian to English plays a big role in your enjoyment, because some translators construct the sentences in such a dull, uninteresting way. But I like the way this translator did it, because it kept like the noirish flavor of the English language was really incorporated into this. If any of that makes sense. It does to me. Anyway, I enjoyed The Bat, book number 1 in the Harry Hole detective series. So I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10, and we are going to purchase the other 11 books in the series and read them and review them for the channel. So there you have it.